This is a new day. This is a new day full of sound, light, and expectation. This day has been waiting for you. This day has been waiting especially for you, to embrace you, to guide you. This day has been waiting with open arms just for you. This is the day we have been given. Let's not waste it. Come now and let us worship together. Welcome and announcements. Today, we would like to offer a warm welcome to our special guest speaker, Derek McDowell, founder of the Youngstown Flea and a local activist. Other people ask Derek what it is he does, and his answer is simple: love Youngstown. Today, Mr. McDowell will deconstruct our idea of a hero and offer us a new framework to see ourselves and our neighbors. Please welcome him in the chat box. A few more announcements about the many exciting ways to stay connected to our community throughout the week. I personally recommend attending Linda Sharf's meditation group, which takes place on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays from 11 to 12. This group has been instrumental in grounding me in equanimity during this often chaotic time. Speaking of meditation, Deep Listening October Worship. This Wednesday, September 9th, from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. on Zoom, come engage with October's worship theme, Deep Listening. In a time of divisiveness, how can deep listening equip us to meet this moment with a full heart? Come with your thoughts and perspectives. This just in: the link in Friday's weekly update to Bits from the Board does not work correctly. An updated link is included with today's order of service and will be provided in the chat for this service. And finally, I will turn this over to Mystery Wallace in California with a very important RE announcement.
Hi everyone, my name is Mystery Wallace. Yes, I'm in California, and I am nearing the end of my journey as Interim Director of Religious Education. It has been decided that as of September 13th, the children of UUYO will be virtually joining the RE program at Kent UU until May 2021. Kent UU has a phenomenal program headed by Colleen Thole and includes around 80 students. So there are different groups, including a youth group, a very active youth group, and things like that. All their meetings are at 11:30 on Sundays. This year, they will be using Our Souls Matter curriculum, which is what we were using with Becky. It's the same curriculum themes that our church services follow, so those will be aligned. They are looking for at least 2 volunteers to volunteer to help with the youth group, which is at noon on Sundays. And as I said, it's very active, and they are working to get Kent and the whole area into anti-racism. I have very much enjoyed getting to be such an integral part of UUYO. It definitely came with challenges, but we succeeded in lots of good learning and just getting to be a group, figuring out what it means to be a part of the world. I would like to thank you all for supporting me and our children. I encourage you to continue this support for the children, and as the children are the future of this church and the world. Along with this, I encourage you to help make the transition to the next Director of Religious Education as smooth as possible, whenever that happens. And if you have any concerns or suggestions about the RE program or how the director is handling things, please make sure to communicate them in a positive and kind manner, leading our children with a good example. Thank you, Lisbeth. Change can be difficult, which is what we will be discussing in RE today at 12:30. We never know what the future holds, which can be very scary. I feel like change is something that, regardless of age, everyone struggles with a little bit. But change always has the potential to also be amazing. Once again, I wanted to say thank you for your support. I will be around for the next 2 weeks, answering emails, doing things like that, helping with the transition. So as always, if you have any questions or concerns or want to know more about the program or are interested in volunteering, please email me at dre@uuyo.org, which I'll put in the chat box. And now to Linda Moan for the chalice lighting.
Good morning. As coordinator for our hospitality teams here at UUYO, Reverend Joseph asked me to say a few words about hospitality, what this pandemic and subsequent social distancing has come to mean, especially in regard to our hospitality teams, for me personally, as well as for UUYO. It's been 6 months since we gathered in Channing Hall for coffee hour after the March 8th church service. Taking a sip of the delicious, equally exchanged coffee and indulging in all the delicious food, veggies, breads, and sweets offered by members of the hospitality team. But food was only the motivator. The magic that happened as a result of our togetherness is where the true spirit of UUYO came alive. The stimulating conversations, the laughter as people shared their thoughts, ideas, and stories with friends and newcomers. I really miss that, those weekly face-to-face gatherings, and I imagine you do too. How things changed almost in an instant, it seemed. Suddenly we were separated from this, our comfort zone, a place where we felt at home, accepted and needed. For the 60+ people on the hospitality teams, it might have meant losing a place, a purpose. No longer was there a need for greeters, for coffee makers, for sharing our favorite food and all the other tasks hospitality teams were involved with. Only 6 months, but it seems like a lifetime ago in many ways. For me, it took a while to accept what was happening, this change in lifestyle. At first, I found myself reaching out to everyone, phoning, texting, emailing my friends, my family, people I hadn't talked to in months, my entire social network. And I found comfort in that. The Sunday morning Zoom services and all the other UUYO and community virtual activities also helped tremendously in keeping me involved and uplifted. And they still do. I feel the load a little lighter when I listen to the relevant and positive messages coming from church sermons and events. However, as life in this pandemic became the norm, I realized that I was seeking less contact with others, not feeling the need to socialize as much as I had at first. I still took comfort in the knowledge that all my friends were there to support me if I needed them, but life slowed down and gave me more time, more quiet times to reflect on what's really important in my life. And this helped me give me a better perspective. Looking back, I realized that I seemed to vacillate between hibernation and socialization, and I still do some. Content at times to stay home and meditate and retreat into my own little world. Other times I feel the need to reach out and socialize and have normal conversations and small get-togethers. Perhaps that's normal, or at least I like to think so, especially during this period of COVID-19. So if you're in that place right now where you feel the need to retreat and reflect, that's perfectly fine. You'll know when it's time to move forward. Everyone deals with things differently, and you have to be true to yourself. For me, I knew that I needed to find ways to define myself, new ways to define myself and my purpose. I didn't want to give in to complacency or depression occasionally. I think many of you were or perhaps still are, feeling the same way. So now, after 6 months, hospitality and hospitality teams have begun to take on a new, broader meaning. Reverend Joseph said in a sermon several weeks ago, "I can't do everything, but I can do something." And a lot is being done. Here's what's been happening through members of our hospitality teams. During the months of March through May, team members kept in touch periodically with all of their team members. And then in June, we had our first Zoom meeting with 14 people attending. We brainstormed ideas, ways to help keep us connected. And as a result of that meeting, we concluded that our primary goal was to attend to the needs of our church members and friends and make sure they were okay. So hospitality team volunteers joined a small, recently formed church group and tried, and successfully in most cases, to make contact, preferably by phone, with every member and friend at UUYO. The goal was to find ways to keep our community connected, to get their input and response, not only regarding the virtual services, but equally important, to find out how they were feeling, what they were doing, what needs they had, taking the time to really listen. So as a result, volunteers from hospitality team have been sending personalized cards and even some homemade cards and notes, especially to those that we haven't seen or heard from recently. Gift baskets and bags are also an option, but they haven't been finalized yet. Homemade masks have been donated to distribute as needed. Clear, detailed Zoom access instructions have been sent to those that are having difficulty connecting virtually. Volunteers are also available for gardening needs upon request. Additionally, many volunteers have been involved in community needs and social justice issues. For an example, they've helped at local action events, delivering food from Cultivate Cafe to needy families in May and June, and helped and currently are still helping in action pop-up markets and voter registration events. UUYOs are known for giving back to the community that we all love, this community. Perhaps now, with fall coming and outside activities starting to be curtailed, it's time to think again. What can I do? How can I connect and help others in our church community? Or how can I serve the greater community of Youngstown and beyond? Is there even one thing I can do to make a difference, if even just for one person? In the words of Mother Teresa, you can do what I cannot do. I can do what you cannot do. Together we can do great things. I light this chalice to pay tribute to the UUYO hospitality that continues to give love, support, and life to our community.
Please join me now in reading the covenant printed in your order of service. Love is the spirit of this church, and service its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Each month, we give to an organization that supports transformation in our community, which is the heart of our mission. And our church's historic commitment to the well-being of our community, we give 100% of our offering to those in need. UUYO's giveaway the plate recipient for September is Youngstown area PFLAG, Parents and Friends of Lesbians and Gays. It is the Youngstown chapter of PFLAG National, which is the United States' first and largest organization uniting parents, families, and allies with people who are LGBTQ+. As a former Steel City in Youngstown, Ohio, Youngstown had virtually no organized gay community in the 1980s. Youngstown's area PFLAG was founded in 1989 by Joe Bordeaux, an AIDS risk reduction specialist for the Youngstown City Health District, as a safe space for gay men. Under the leadership of John Edwards in the early 1990s, And to the present, the Youngstown chapter has expanded to support LGBTQ plus people, their family members, and friends. We are now led by Marguerite Felice, a proud mother of both a gay and a bisexual son. Youngstown Area PFLAG hosts monthly meetings for members and invited guest speakers, partners with organizations to provide education and advocacy in support of LGBTQ plus community, and regularly volunteers at community events to show support for our local LGBTQ plus community. This year, Youngstown Area PFLAG is partnering with community partners to register people to vote and encourage everyone to have a voting plan. We will now receive the offering that supports the life of Youngstown, the Mahoning Valley, and our wider world. Please join me now for a few moments of silent meditation. And now, a reading excerpted from Human Options, an autobiographical notebook by Norman Cousins. I am a single cell in the body of 4 billion cells. The body is humankind. I am a single cell. My needs are individual, but they are not unique. I am interlocked with other human beings and the consequences of our actions, thoughts, and feelings. I will work for human unity and human peace, for a moral order and harmony with the order of the universe. Together, we share the quest for a society of the whole equal to our needs, a society in which we need not live beneath our moral capacity, and in which justice has a life of its own. We are single cells in a body of 4 billion cells. The body is humankind.
Good morning, everyone. I just want to first begin by saying it is an honor and a pleasure to join you in your Sunday service. My thanks to Reverend Joseph for inviting me. Thank you to all of your musicians. It's wonderful to hear. Thank you to all of those who have spoken a word, a reading, any of that. It's been a blessing so far to just engage. I'm very honored to read your covenant. It was a blessing to hear a portion of that, showing that love is the spirit of this church, and service its law. That was refreshing. And so I'm not great at those introductions and ensuring that I give the proper honor to those that are due, but that was my best attempt. I'm really going to jump right into my message so as to not take up too much of your time today. But the title I have for my message is "Who Are Our Heroes?" And Reverend Boyd asked me to join you all, coming on the heels of a vigil that an organization I work closely with in the community, Mahoning Valley Sojourn to the Past, led by its director, Penny Wells. It was a vigil to honor the life of one of the great heroes of this nation, Congressman John Lewis. And I gave some brief remarks at that vigil, and I really had the sense that what we have is a transition. And the transition I speak of is a transition that will seek to redefine a hero as we know it, as we once knew it, and what it, I believe, must become in order for us to see our way forward. And I'm gracious for sheroes as well. So when I say hero, don't add a gender to that. For me, most of my the people who have my adoration and my admiration are sheroes in my life. And so I don't want to exclude, I don't want to leave out. But for the purposes, what I thought I'd begin with is the typical Webster's Dictionary description of what a hero is. And it defines a hero as a mythological or legendary figure. are often endowed with some sort of great strength or ability. It's an illustrious warrior. It says a person admired for achievements and noble qualities, one who shows great courage. And when I read those, often those just didn't fit my description of those in my life. And so I'll be honest with you, I've never had a hero. I believed that to be a luxury or a privilege, a great privilege to those who were in a space that they could identify such people in your life. Because for most of my life, I existed in a space that was more considered to be survival mode. If you liken that to being in a fetal position and never knowing when you can ease up the entirety of your muscle groups, that you are just in a ball to keep yourself safe, never knowing when life's bullying would be gone. And so years ago, I thought about who was a hero in my life, and I couldn't identify anyone. So what I needed to do in order to establish who a hero was to me was what I want to do for us all, hopefully. And you don't have to believe as I believe. I'm just sharing my perspective. But what I did was I began to completely deconstruct my mentality and my interpretation that I carried around the description of a hero. And so what I did was offered up a new framework for myself as I began to look at those around me. So I'll tell you, September 19th, 1977, almost 43 years ago, that date to this community, this area, this region is known or was known as Black Monday, one of the most traumatic experiences of our community, in which more than 5,000 people lost their job in a day when the steel mills were shuttered. That day has had economic, educational, financial impact to our community. And so as I looked at that date and I saw Black Monday for what it was, I resonated with Black Monday because Black Monday caused us to adhere to that same fetal position I found myself personally in. I found myself in a fetal position, and I looked at this community and I said, it's in that same fetal position for the last 43 years from the trauma that this community has been impacted by. So what I did was I went after Black Monday. And now by a mayoral proclamation, a city council resolution, and a resolution issued by the office of Congressman Tim Ryan, that day is now known as Reclaiming Our Identity Day. That's what I went after, to reframe and reshape and deconstruct and then reconstruct the narrative around that day so that we could now come out of that fetal position and begin to advance our community. It's been 43 years almost since the mills closed, and 50% of our population is gone in less than a half century. And what I wanted people to recognize in that proclamation of reclaiming our identity was that it's pretty safe to say that no one was or is coming to save us. It's us. And I'm not sure why we were waiting around for someone to swoop in and rescue us, other than the fact that we had this old definition of a hero. And what we maybe didn't recognize is that we didn't need to be rescued. What we need to be is redeemed. We need to be reclaimed. And so I saw it through that proclamation for us to no longer be misled. And I want to say that in a dual meaning, right? Misled in thinking that someone was coming to save us, and misled in the additional meaning of those who we look to to guide us in our way forward. Many of us, and I would believe from the covenant of this church and many of the readings that you've shared today, we would say that we're activist oriented. Many of us don't wait around on people to do things for us. We have a call. Our faith calls us to action. Our community calls us to action. The people we love call us to action. But in many instances, we still are looking for who will lead us. And what we may not recognize is that at times we're busy following the wrong people, busy going in the wrong direction. And so often we get so busy doing that we forget to follow our own heart. What we've got to recognize is that this movement that you see in our city, in our communities, in the region, across this country, the movement as we know it has been decentralized. There is no one head to look to, and there's no one head to chop off in the monsters that we face. Quite honestly, leadership as we once knew it has left the building. And so that's why I felt the need to first define so that we could redefine, to deconstruct our mentalities and our interpretations of a hero so that we can reconstruct. And so as we looked at those traditional definitions, I can see, and I hope that you can see, that its current assertions, they don't match with our current needs. I don't believe that we need an illustrious warrior. I don't believe that we need to just have someone who we look to and just in awe and admiration for their achievements and their noble qualities. I don't believe that there's a mythological or legendary figure that's coming our way who's endowed with great strength or ability, who's going to turn around the community as we know it. And as I look out for examples of today's heroes or role models, quite honestly, the people we sort of look to today would have been examples of what not to be 60 years ago. 60 years ago, we wouldn't have applauded the Kanyes and the Kim Kardashians. They would have been examples of what not to be. And I'm picking a bit there because I love all people. But as we give away our attention and our admiration, it should be to those that we've challenged to do the work that's necessary to move us forward as humanity, as human beings who exist in a community where we need one another. We thought as a city, as a community, that we needed a political hero or an economic hero or an educational savior, when actually what we really need is for everyone to involve themselves in the work that we need to do in order to redeem ourselves. So, a few things that I've discovered as I, again, searched for my own heroes. More recently, a t-shirt from the brand in Columbus, Homage, sought to sort of sum it up for me, that not all heroes wear capes. That was a tribute to Dr. Amy Acton, who worked alongside of Governor Mike DeWine and became sort of a hero to us all in that she exuded normal qualities that we all professed, right? But she did it in such a unique way that we identified with it. She didn't possess these, illustrious warrior qualities in the way that we once knew it. But she did possess something that resonated with the hearts and minds of those that she sought to protect from a pandemic. Another observation I made is we can often spend a lot of time looking for and identifying villains in our lives than heroes. We can point to those that we'd like to attack, those that we believe are the culprits for our condition, instead of looking to those that are going to join us in reclaiming the thing that will move us to our bright and beautiful future. Another observation is, if well-meaning people don't get involved, our redemption efforts are going to continue to be stalled. And I believe that well-meaning people who have an improper definition of hero will always sit the bench in those moments because they believe someone else should be placed in the game instead of them, because they don't believe they possess the qualities necessary, the great strengths or attributes to go after what it is that we need. And so, borrowing from earlier comments that was made, the American author Edward Everett Hale said, "I am only one, but still I am one. I cannot do everything, but still I can do something. And because I can't do everything, I will not refuse to do something that I can do." So for me, let me define for you all what a hero is for me. Because this is what it took to come out of that fetal position that I was in and to boldly go after the redemption and reclaiming of our identity that we needed, and so much is needed still. But this is what it took for me to identify my first hero. And it was actually a shero. I had to reframe and redefine and deconstruct and reconstruct in my mind that my shero was someone who absorbed. This person absorbed so many blows in my life, so many blunt forces, so that I didn't have to. She buffered the impact of all the issues and the ills that surrounded me and my brothers. Every pain and every trauma, every sorrow, every despair, every hopeless moment. My mom was willing to sacrifice literally life and limb. She abandoned every precept of safety to protect us. But as a child, I could not see. I was still in that fetal position, balled up, angry at the world. I could not see these illustrious qualities, these superhero-like abilities that my mom carried, because what I saw in her was failure. I saw that she couldn't afford to keep our lights on, or a roof over our head, or lunch money. My mom absorbed at a great cost to her own physical, mental, emotional, and financial health all of the trauma and the drama that us as four knuckleheaded boys brought her way. And it took me 30 plus years to reframe in my mind who she was and who she is in my life. The most amazing shero I can think of. And yes, if we go back to that Webster's dictionary, in my mind, I want to say that my mom is a mythological and legendary figure with great strength and ability. That she, for me, has been an illustrious warrior, a person admired for her achievements and her noble qualities, who showed great courage in the face of communities where crime and drugs ran rampant around us. That is my mom. That is the hero of my life. And I could tell you, one of the more ultimate heroes comes in a way that many may not see, many may not profess, but I do. The other hero is deeply embedded in the faith that I observe. And that for me is Christ himself, who sacrificed himself for the church to redeem us back to him. And he took upon himself what I was justly due, what belonged to me. He absorbed sin. He buffered the blows of an enemy who continually works to steal, kill, and destroy. And I'm thankful for that salvation, for his mercy, for his grace, for his forgiveness in my life. But Christ in my life has done his heroic work. Christ has been faithful to do his part. But I actually have to know what he's asked of me. Because my faith tells me that faith without works is dead. A faith without real action, and an action that's in line with this now newly redefined mentality around who our heroes are. And if you haven't figured it out by now, it's you and I. That's what I want to leave you with today. An earlier reading in this service spoke about this day has been waiting for you. And I absolutely believe that. So if there's anything to take away from our time together today that I would love for you to do, it's that we cannot waste any more time looking around for who and what we need. Tag, you're it. Who are our heroes? We all are. Thank you.
Thank you, Derek, for joining us today with such a beautiful testament to the heroic power of mothers, the thought-provoking message, and most importantly, the call to action. Please join me now in prayer, authored by the Reverend Leslie Ahuva Fales. Spirit of life who changes us, the ground beneath us is shifting. For some of us, gently. For others, in seismic waves. Remind us of the steadfast presence of a love greater than ourselves, as constant as the stars, even when it is obscured from view. Amen.
We extinguish this chalice, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we keep in our hearts until we meet again.
As you depart, please remember the one great fact. You are loved and never truly alone.